On today's Hashi, I'm discussing yesterday's employment revision, the correlation between housing and recession, FOMC meeting minutes, Fannie Mae's economic developments and projections inside of that report, as well as weekly unemployment. Today is packed. It's Thursday, August 22nd, 2024. I am Byron Lazine, and the hot sheet starts now. Good morning. Welcome back to the hot sheet. Let me know in the live chat which market you are tuning in from. Today is absolutely ridiculously, obnoxiously packed with data information around our economy and how it relates to housing. This is the only show on the internet that goes live each and every single day that the markets are open Monday through Thursday on the housing market, a 24-hour look back for all real estate professionals, investors, and alike who want a 24-hour look back on the housing market. If you get value from the hot sheet each and every single morning, hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up right now so this show can reach more and wider of an audience. Also, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're putting out new content each and every single day. Yesterday was a new series called Branded with Jimmy Mackin as the first interviewee from Brad McCullum. That's over on the main tab here on the Now Bam YouTube channel. All right, we have so much here today. I mean, this is as full of a hot sheet that I can remember in recent memory. There's a lot to unpack. I'm almost thinking about going back to Fridays here on the hot sheet. I think the team will kill me for that because we have so much that goes into this show. If you're getting the hot sheet show notes inside of BAMX, you know exactly what I'm talking about. All of the hot sheet show notes and slides. So many BAMX members are using each and every single day. It takes a lot of preparation to do this show, but I don't know. I'm just like looking at all this stuff that we can talk about here today. And I may just have to go back to Fridays. I don't know. That might have to happen. All right. So if you were on yesterday's hot sheet, you remember that at the end, we were waiting at 10 a.m. We were waiting and waiting and waiting for that drop, that Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS drop. Labor Department was supposed to drop the information at 10 a.m. We already had like a Monday teaser. Surprisingly, that X account Zero Hedge had it first. And then all of the big, Bloomberg, then New York Post, all these mainstream media outlets, late Tuesday, Zero Hedge had it on Monday. Late Tuesday, you started to see the reports like there's going to be a big miss on payroll growth. There's going to be a huge miss. Our economy is it weaker than we've been told all year that it is? Is job growth not as strong? Well, that didn't come in at 10 a.m. We're sitting there. We pull up. Bobby pulls up one report. We're looking at like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Doesn't seem like this is a new, fresh report. Then we start seeing. I think it was Dawn here in the live chat was like, hey, people on X are saying this is delayed. It was in fact delayed. It was crazy. There was a huge delay on that, about a half hour. It was odd. You don't typically, see a delay on that information. Bureau of Labor Statistics put out a tweet yesterday. We are aware that there was a delay to the CES preliminary benchmark announcement. We are looking into the reason for the delay. We have no additional information to share regarding the delay at this time. Logan posted this meme, a little whoopsie from the government. I'm sure we will never. You could wait a million years. You're not going to hear a follow-up to that story on why there was a delay, but there was a delay. Maybe they're just crunching some last-minute numbers because the numbers were huge. Non-farm payroll growth revised down by 818,000 jobs, the Labor Department says. Okay. This is enormous. And it was reported to be as much as 1 million. I'll show you that somebody broke this down on X, that the number actually is up around 1 million. In fact, it's up over 1 million when you factor in all of the downward revisions. Okay. When we've been talking about this a lot here in the last few weeks, when you keep looking back on the year, you get these strong headline numbers that show strong economy. And there are voices, there are opposing voices to these as well, but there are voices that say our economy is strong. Just look at, jobs. Now you can't point towards unemployment. Unemployment has gone up sharply. And we're going to get into a Fannie Mae report about what that sharp increase on unemployment means with their new projections that were just released. But you start to look at all the numbers backwards. And when these revisions come out, they're usually downward. Even Q1 GDP went down. Okay, so now this is one of the biggest, most substantial downward revisions that we've seen that really speaks to the strength of the economy. I think if you feel your local economy, you talk to people that are clients of yours or friends or family members, and you just ask them, like, do you feel great about this economy? You get some anecdotal evidence that it's not really working for everybody, but you kept seeing these headline numbers that were like, wow, I mean, I don't know, the stock market's good. Like all these things are good. There's seemingly a strong economy. The numbers point towards it. We're talking about soft landing, but then not as many people pay attention to the revisions. This revision is extremely hard to ignore. Okay, the revision of the total payrolls level of 0.5% to the negative is the largest since 2009. For those of us that went through 2009 and during that whole time frame of 08 to 2012, nobody wants to go back to those years, and nobody wants any comparisons of now to then. We know there aren't substantial comparisons when you look at mortgages and all of that, but there are some comparisons that are popping up to recessionary times. We're going to get into that a little bit. At the sector level, the biggest downward revision came in professional and business services, where job growth was 358,000 less than initially reported. Okay, interestingly, construction was a job that or another number that went down. Okay, I shared this on X. Follow me on X if you'd like, at Byron Lazine if you're on that platform. I quoted Logan Motoshami, residential construction workers, a key indicator of economic stability. He put that tweet out before this downward revision came out. He's also someone who says consistently, I mean, he says this year over year, if you want to watch for signs in a weakening housing market, but more so at a bigger macro than just housing, signs of a looming recession, signs of an economic downturn, watch construction jobs closely. Well, in the BLS revision, construction jobs fell 45,000. So is that a leading indicator that we are maybe not heading towards a soft landing, but a potential recession, one that's been talked about, it seems ad nauseum for 2 years, but seems more real now than ever? Or do we need to see layoffs happening in construction specifically before we can really raise the red recession flag? Okay, that remains to be seen. We've seen remember, this number here from the BLS, the 45,000, is less new payroll jobs than what was reported. So we were led to believe construction and other job sectors were much stronger than they actually are. This isn't 45,000 people had a job and were laid off. We start seeing that specifically in construction. There's a real reason to be concerned. Why? Because construction supports so many other industries. Construction means somebody from one industry is investing in something. Construction means that somebody else has to come and support those construction workers. You got architects. You've got a lot of supporting players and casts. Once the thing is built, you often have employment. So there's a huge, trickle through the economy effect, for lack of a better words, that happens when construction loses jobs, or there's a huge driving factor when you have more construction jobs. Okay, so again, biggest hit here on the report from Bureau of Labor Statistics was those professional services jobs, 358,000 down. If you look at every sector here, mining and logging, construction, manufacturing, trade, down, 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 wholesale trade, down, retail trade, down. Transportation and warehousing is the only one, and utilities, which is up, as well as, private education and health services. And then the only other sector that's up, leisure and hospitality, down big time. The only other one that was underreported was government. Who would have thought government was actually underreported? This one's interesting to point out. Okay, this isn't a political statement in any means, but you can go back to any month. We do this every single month on the hot sheet when the numbers come out. You go back to any single month. I just pulled up JP Morgan June 2024. What the heck? You can pick any month you want. You get a top line number of 206,000. We know that that number now is a phony baloney number. Okay. You look at their key takeaways. There were 206. However, there were 111,000 of downward revisions for April and May. We're going to get to how these downward revisions are being calculated because the 818,000 is on top of a lot of these. I'll show you an example of that in a minute. But the Bureau of Labor Statistics talks about every time you look at these monthly numbers, every time you can go back, you can pick any month that you want. You see government and healthcare jobs accounting for nearly 3/4 of total job gains. If we pulled out, our government has hired at a rate over the last 24 months that is staggering. That would absolutely blow your mind. If you look at these numbers month over month, you start to realize you're like, what the heck? Every job is a government. Like we are just hiring so much. Now they have to classify, .gov jobs as straight up government jobs, but some of these jobs in healthcare are also government. There are, we looked at the private education being stated above on the BLS instead of below. You talk about public education, that money comes from the taxpayer. It's not like, the public education sector is producing revenue. That is a straight tax as well. Certainly government jobs, straight tax. So if you were to pull out taxes out of, if you were to pull taxes out of, the equation here, if you were to pull out government spending is a better way to put it, government spending, which is, American spending. If you were to pull that out of our economy right now, we'd be in negative GDP territory. We'd be in a recession. We'd be in a long recession. Okay, so because of how much we spend as a government, that keeps us in growth mode. I mean, if you look at the 1.8 on GDP on quarter one, which was revised down closer to 1, government is spending at a clip of 6% GDP. So really, that's like -5 for the quarter. Okay, so this is it's concerning when you pull that many jobs out of the private sector that we thought we had 818,000, and we really didn't have them at all. We didn't have those 818,000 private jobs. We want more private jobs, right? There's some certain restrictions that, with the Fed that isn't allowing for real job growth, not government job growth. Here's a tweet. Don't forget that today's massive downward benchmark revision, second largest on record, is on top of the existing downward revision to the initial monthly job report figures. Between all the revisions, job growth for the 12-month period was wildly overestimated to almost 1.2 million. Okay, so what are we doing here? This is factoring in 1.2 million is factoring in some of those monthly misses that we were told about along the way. When you look at JP Morgan's report in June, it says, hey, oh, by the way, April and May, there was like 111,000 miss out of the 200,000. No big deal. No big deal. Just a little 111,000 miss. We'll slip that in there. Everybody read the top line report and kind of paraded around that the economy is strong when in fact, oopsie, just like Logan posted, not the case. Logan also posted a video I thought was in this. There's an article. We broke down all these tweets and Instagram posts and what have you from yesterday's reactions on nowbam.com. You can just go to nowbam.com, grab the article. I think we could probably link it up here too. Logan said the one thing that we all know for now is that the Fed had used the labor market being so tight. Oh, the labor market's so tight. It's so strong. There's so many jobs being created in this thriving economy to continue to say we have to keep policy very restrictive. Hit the thumbs up if you heard, you know, the replays that we've played here on the hot sheet, or the quotes that we've read here on the hot sheet, where not Logan, I'm sorry, Logan. I am sorry. I would not ever want to confuse you with Jerome Powell, where we hear Jerome Powell saying, we have to keep policy restrictive. The job market's just way too strong. There's too many jobs being created. We don't want wage to get out of control. That's going to drive inflation. That was the story. That was the MO. Okay. We have to attack the labor supply. He went on as far, Jerome Powell, to say, if we can't get inflation down, we're going to have to create almost layoffs. Okay. But they were playing off of numbers here that were not true, that were inaccurate, that were overinflated when it comes to private job creation. There's too many jobs created. This is Logan talking as if he was Jerome. Clearly, right now, they were clearly behind the curve on that one. And so he goes on in that video to talk about the fact that we've got an FOMC, which is good. They're all in Jackson Hole right now, probably having a little bit of a martini. By the way, I had a martini the other day on Sunday. The manager was filling in for the wait staff, and he goes, "Hey, if you like stuffed olives, how about I stuff the olive with?" I'm not joking, and he didn't even charge me extra, with a little bit of caviar. If you like martinis, I would try that. But I'm sure, and I still have to pay for the martini, okay? But I'm certain Jerome Powell is getting some martinis right now on your dime out there in very fancy Jackson Hole. And they're all there. He's gonna have a speech tomorrow, and we're gonna see what he says about this. But they're playing with fire now by not having already cut the rate. And remember, they waited way too long to start increasing the rate when it was clear that the government was overspending. It was clear that we were out of the crisis around COVID. Spending money initially, people were home, couldn't go to work, all of that, get it. Totally got that. But that last $2.3 trillion that the government spent, that even Jerome Powell, who says he doesn't play any politics and he's not going to let politics guide any of his decision making, who in fact all year was the one parroting such a strong job economy that we have, and it happens to not be true. He says that, okay, we're not going to play politics, but he was the one pushing the government, if you remember, to go grab that last 2.3 trillion. He says, this is going to be the last time for a long time you're going to be able to print this much money. They went and printed that 2.3 trillion. And that's ultimately what has driven the inflation. Then the Fed waited way too long to start increasing the rate. They had to play catch up. Okay. Meet Kevin, who's pretty active on X, and it says, the voicemail, and he's talking about calling the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay. Because they said, hey, well, we're going to update everybody on why there was this delay. It says they'll get back to you in 2 business days. This is the kind of communication on why things are late, or why we just don't even have accurate numbers throughout the year to make decisions on our economy and all of that in real time. This is what a government that's gone $35 trillion in debt will buy you. I mean, that is there is some truth to that tweet. Okay. So what is Jerome Powell going to say tomorrow? R&R, I don't like it extra dirty. Bobby likes it extra dirty. He likes it with gin. You got to have the caviar, R&R. Who knows? We might go have a caviar martini this weekend. Might be the last one in a long time if the economy doesn't turn around here, apparently. But I don't like it extra dirty, but I do like stuffed olives. Okay. So there you go. We'll see what they say on this. We'll see what Jerome Powell says. All eyes are on him tomorrow. We're going to get to the FOMC meeting minutes here in just a minute, but all eyes are on him tomorrow. Yeah, that is true as well, Jungle. But that was a pretty good tweet. He does take action on kind of being a troll. He called the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I find that kind of funny. But I get what you're saying there on that comment. So we're going to get to see what Jerome Powell says from Jackson Hole, fancy Jackson Hole with the fancy people. We have an indication here from the FOMC meeting minutes that we're going to get to in a minute. We also have, this new information that he's going to have to address. Logan's point is he can't come out tomorrow and say really anything short of we're going to do a cut in September. And he can't point towards a strong labor market. There is a stat I'm going to show you from Fannie Mae later on here that is eye-opening when it comes to what the unemployment, now talking about unemployment, not just a job miss, means for the future. But don't believe some of these. I'm not saying don't believe some of these headline numbers, but we got to look at the revisions. Okay. And that's part of what, the hot sheet here is all about. It's like, let's get the actual data. And so when we look back, when they revise, and Eric, I agree, no gin, no vermouth. When they revise these numbers, we have accurate information to provide to our clients. It's surprising to me how few people that are, and we just went through all those government jobs that are being created. How few people actually have accurate information. Let's go to our Commerce Secretary, our Secretary of Commerce. I talk a lot about the NAR salaries and how some of them are ridiculous for the job being done. I mean, we were all on here yesterday talking about these numbers. When are they going to come out? What are they going to be? We were really obsessed with it because it has a huge implication on what happens in the economy moving forward. You think our Secretary of Commerce would have the same kind of eyeball on what's happening on the economy? I beat up on overinflated salaries all the time when other people are paying those salaries and they're not actually creating anything. Our Commerce Secretary makes $221,400 annually and oversees approximately 47,000 employees. Let's go to her comments yesterday on the job miss. Maybe Bobby's having a martini. I guess let's not go to them. Bobby, did I lose you? There you go. Thank you, Bobby.
When you hear that, do you potentially think that this new numbers could be a liability for this campaign?
No, when I hear that, first of all, I don't believe it because I've never heard Donald Trump say anything truthful.
It is, though, from the Bureau of Labor.
I'm not familiar with that.
When you hear
So
that,
go ahead and take that off. This is hilarious. This is hilarious whether you're voting in November. I think everybody should obviously vote. Whether you're voting for one side or the other, or you're pro one side, I don't even care. Nobody cares. The fact that the Secretary of Commerce tried to play politics with data, it's discouraging. And that reporter wasn't some gotcha reporter. That was ABC. Okay, that was ABC News that said, hello, lady, this is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. You're talking about a former president. What is wrong with you? You employ, or you look over 47,000. That lady looks over 47,000 employees. She's making $221,000 of your money. And she's not even aware that the economy was overstated. The reason why in a climate like this, in an election climate, they don't want you to be aware is it's bad for the cause. It's bad for the incumbent. Well, the facts that we have to face up to are some of these leading indicators, particularly what we're seeing in housing, can lead, like I talked about with the construction jobs, to a greater economic issue. Okay, so let's go to this clip here, Bobby. Let's go to that second clip that I lined up for you, if you've got that one ready. The correlation between housing and recession. The wider you can open up the video, Bobby, the better. But let's go to that clip and play it now. Thank you. Turn that up, Bobby.
Back to September of 2007, saying that housing is the best business cycle indicator. It's by far the best early warning sign of an oncoming recession. And there's a couple of charts in there. I want to share one with the audience. So these are the year before recessions and the things that hit the economy hardest. almost every time it was residential investments, right? 49, 57, 60. And these are some big numbers. When it wasn't the top reason, it was the second biggest reason. Do you think economists now are underestimating this housing slump? Because every time the numbers come out, they always say, well, housing is a lagging indicator. Now, they said it was going to catch up in 6 months. They said it would catch up in 12 months. It's moving a little bit lower, but are they underestimating the message of housing? Could housing be saying, hey, we're in a recession or we're going into a recession?
It is saying exactly that. And Charles, I want to clear up. I think the reason why so many economists have been flummoxed by this macro background for the last couple of years is because we have loose fiscal policy and tight policy with interest rates. So interest rate sensitive sectors like housing have been in rolling recession. If you look at activity, if you look at housing starts, if you look at transactions, if you look at where layoffs have been happening in the mortgage industry, those sectors of the economy have been in recession, and they've been offset by like consumption and in the government areas, spending areas where there's been a little bit of a boom. But this is the year where that is starting to transition over, and those interest rate sensitive sectors are starting to pull more.
Pause it right there, Bobby. Before we finish up with this video, what she just said is exactly what we were just talking about. You had an 1,800 or 818,000 job miss. So you can keep the video up because we're going to go right back to it here, Bobby. We had an 800,000 miss on private jobs, the jobs we want in our economy. Yet we had 1,000 on the upward after historic hiring by the government. What she just said, the housing recession that we have been in and we've been feeling for 2 years is being covered up by government growth. That's government spending. So this economy is being held up on debt right now. And until we get this restrictive policy off of the people who create business, who where a housing market can flourish, which helps more people than anything, we're going to be faced with this conversation over and over again. Go ahead and let's finish the video here.
FedNow GDP just indicated for Q3 that housing is going to be more of a drag on that than they had earlier anticipated. And so this right now is when everything's sort of starting to tip over into, hey, sort of partial segments of the economy in recession might become entire economy in recession pretty soon.
So then, just about 30 seconds ago, where does that leave Jay Powell? Should he at least give it some lip service on what his address at Jackson Hole?
Yes, to be honest, Charles, I think the Fed needed to cut interest rates 2 months ago to start to save those interest rate sensitive sectors of the economy, because people need to remember that there is a lag on both ends. There was a lag with hikes, and there's going to be a lag with cuts. So I think the Fed is about 2 months too late.
Okay. Headline there: housing is the business cycle. You can drop that off, Bobby. And when we're looking at, and we're going to get into now here, after we cover these FOMC minutes, which is not much to cover, we're going to get into this Fannie Mae report. We're going to look at, unemployment and what that might mean. They pointed it out right there. When you have a housing sector that continues to trend down, and we're not paying attention to how important that is, almost every single year that we have a recession, that's a leading indicator. Okay. So when we talk about the construction jobs, you start seeing layoffs in construction, we're going to really be very close to, things blowing up there. All right. So let's go to the FOMC minutes. These were released yesterday. Okay. Federal Reserve press release. These were released yesterday. They're meeting now in Jackson Hole. They're going to have, their annual hoobie-doo out there, and Jerome Powell will talk tomorrow. So this is a rear view mirror look back on what was said inside of the meeting, where they decided, last month to keep, at the end of July, to keep the rate where it currently is. Okay. So a lot of the talking points, they kept it at the 5.25% to 5.5% range. They're still strongly committed to returning inflation to its 2% objective. Obviously, they mentioned the dual mandate in here, which is to maximize employment, which he's going to have to answer to here. We've got all this data. Essentially, the headline is The Fed's meetings, when you dig into all of that, they do indicate that we're likely to see this rate cut coming now in September. Okay, so we're likely to see it. Markets are fully pricing in a September cut. We've seen 100% from CME Group here for quite some time. We're really, I mean, they've got 100% guarantee. I mean, we're basically guaranteed to see a rate cut now in September. The only question is, how firm is Jerome Powell going to be in that positioning tomorrow? And how big is that cut going to be? Well, CME Group now has a 71% chance that it will only be a quarter point cut, because in those minutes, that's what the conversation was around, the likelihood of a quarter point. So you saw those minutes released yesterday afternoon. The the CME Group changed its ranking here to 71% being a quarter, and now only about 30% being a half a point. Okay, still 100% chance that there will be a cut, in line with the minutes and in line with, really where the market has it priced in. Other than that, when it comes to housing, and I dropped these into the hot sheet show notes, or the team dropped these in for you. There was only 3 mentions of housing during that FOMC 2-day meeting. And so doesn't appear to the video that we just saw there, doesn't appear that the Fed is paying enough attention to how important this housing market is for the economy. 3 mentions in a 2-day meeting, and these are pretty bland mentions. Price inflation in June for housing services showed a notable slowing. Participants have been anticipating for some time. In addition, core non-housing services prices had decelerated in recent months. That's like a copy and paste from last month. Some participants noted that the lags in the time it takes for housing rental conditions for new tenants to show through the aggregate price data for house services meant that the disinflationary trend in this component would likely continue. Yeah, it'd likely continue because you guys are using 12-month-old data, while we're looking here on the hot sheet and other places like realtor.com at, to the minute data. Okay. And it's showing that we've been in a disinflationary trend on rental prices for over 12 months. But they're not seeing that apparently, because they're talking about, hey, the aggregate price data we have means that the trend is likely to continue because we're way behind. So just look at real data. Stop looking at things that are silly, like owner's equivalent rent, for example. Okay, so there's the minutes. We'll see what Jerome Powell says tomorrow. We'll obviously break all that down. Let's move over to Fannie Mae's projection. This is their August economic development report. They come out with this report once a month. They adjust their projections on a monthly basis based on what's happening in the economy. This one is always fascinating to look at, because how do they feel about the 30-year fix, going up, going down? Okay. They project in through the rest of the year. They project into 2025. They also are talking about things like what the last video was talking about in a different way. They're talking about housing being a leading indicator to recession. But how about the fact that we just have a sharp increase on the unemployment? And I showed a chart very similar to this. Maybe it was yesterday or 2 days ago. If you were on, you might remember. And this was just me guessing. I'm like, look at this. Every single time we have a sharp increase, like we have right now on unemployment, 3.5 to 4.3, even though we've been told all year, wow, the job market is so good. When we have this sharp increase like we have right now on unemployment, you didn't have to be a genius to just look backwards and be like, wow, every time that happens, we enter a recession. I'm not even going to count this one here, the COVID one. That was so short and unusual, obviously. But every other sharp increase, and now nobody's, rooting for, hoping for, looking for, projecting for this 2008 type of increase. But there was that sharpening here there was indicators in 07 before it really just took off after the economy collapsed, obviously entered a deep recession there. But how about 2000? Same thing. You had this sharp increase before it kind of took off. Now this one only went to 6%. I'm hopeful that that's where, we would stop. 5-6% would be more than enough. Okay. I don't want to see it go any higher. I don't want to go see, I'd like to see it go down. I'd like to see it go down immediately. Doesn't look like that's where we're heading. Sharp increase here in 90 leads to recession. You get the picture. Every sharp increase, historically a sharp rise in unemployment rate has coincided with a recession. That's part of that SAM rule that we covered. You can look into that. There's so many indicators now here that it's not just talk anymore, that the soft landing that Jerome Powell has been trying to pull off is going to be harder to pull off. Affordability is expected to improve, but it's unlikely to return to pre-pandemic levels anytime soon. The percent of income spent on mortgage payments. So the forecast here on affordability, Fannie Mae is saying, look, things are going to get better. We're not going to get all the way down here towards, 2018 levels of 20%, but we're going to be going under the 30% here pretty soon. Okay. So you're looking at 32, 33% right now, getting back down to maybe 28% of income spent on mortgage payments. So that's the affordability projection now from Fannie Mae. It's going to get better. That might be something, and all of these charts are available for you inside of BAMX. We carve these out, put these available for you so you can grab those and use them. That might be something to send out to the long-term buyer list. Affordability is improving. Wow. We're seeing this improve here over the time. I believe now is buying season. This winter coming up is a real buying season, because if we get some of these low 30-year fixed that Fannie Mae's projecting into the future, you're going to see more demand clearly on people who have been waiting on the sidelines. I'd be buying into that downswing because you're going to get a better chance of negotiation. A large share of under construction new homes for sale will suppress. We've been calling for this in the hot sheet like over and over and over. Under construction homes for sale will suppress new home starts because their inventory is building up. So Fannie Mae projecting that you'll see less from builders here moving forward. We saw that in the data here over the past week on starts, permits, and even completions. GDP here, okay? The prior forecast higher than now the current forecast. So Fannie Mae looking forward has a lower current forecast on GDP, obviously an indicator on the economy. Unemployment rate now, the prior forecast lower than what their updated here in August current forecast is. So they have it going up, but they don't have it reflecting that chart that we looked at above, a sharp continuation of up and to the right. They have this kind of like leveling off, I guess, in the mid fours to high fours. But they have it consistently going up through 2025 before it levels off in 2025, not showing a real decline in 25 either. CPI inflation, okay? Right now, the forecast for core is higher than the prior forecast, is higher than current forecast. So Fannie Mae is saying, hey, Fed, look, inflation's going to be even better than we were forecasting. Our new forecast have inflation going lower. In fact, pretty near, just low twos there by the end of 2025. Here's the one we're all waiting for. Fannie Mae's newest updated 30-year fixed mortgage rate projection. They've got the prior forecast on every, point from now through the end of 2025 at a higher level than their new updated current forecast. And by the end of 2025, they're forecasting sub 6%. Now, keep in mind what I just said there, by the end of 2025. So they don't have this thing falling off a cliff. Something important for buyers to understand. Hey, we'd really have to see that unemployment number continue a skyrocketing up, straight up, for that 30-year fix to go sharply down. If it trends on Fannie Mae's projection of, say, 4.5, 4.7 on unemployment, and we don't go into a significant recession, maybe we have a small, little weaker recession, you're going to see more of what Fannie Mae is projecting, which is a 30-year fix to gradually move down and just get under 6% by the end of 2025. So, Mr. Buyer, you just said you're waiting for 4%. How long are we waiting? How much more do we want price appreciation to grow before we turn into buyer mode? Existing home sales from Fannie Mae, the prior forecast is showing a little bit of a bump here over the coming months, second half of the year too, versus their current forecast. Encouraging news there from Fannie Mae. New single home sales, they have also a little bit of a bump up versus the prior forecast. Okay. Single family housing starts. Current forecast is below the prior forecast. So again, this is in line with what we've been saying. You're going to see housing starts slow down. I firmly expect that as existing inventory continues to come onto the market. And now they've got multifamily though coming back, probably with a little bit of the lowering rate. Okay, there's going to be multifamily housing starts coming back into the market above the prior forecast. That one actually is surprising to me because there has been so much inventory there. Here are the forecasts for single family mortgage originations, purchase versus refinance, and the dots represent the prior forecast. So a lot of these hitting in line with where they were last month on those forecasts. Not any significant increase or decrease there. This table will be available for you, which kind of breaks this all down. I love sending this to your database. This one really can highlight, especially for buyers, when you just look across the table here on the 30-year fix. Look at this. These are the projections from Fannie Mae, not from me, but from Fannie Mae on where the 30-year fix is going to go. So to me, the buying opportunity is this winter when we're around 6.4 and 6.2. Once we get to the 6, which is like Q2 of next year, spring, when all the buyers are buying, and then 5.9 to the end of the year, you're going to just have a lot more competition. But on its way down, and maybe you could even buy this down a little bit and get to 6 when it's at a 6.25 range, middle of the winter, less competition. That to me right there is buying season, better opportunity to negotiate, find that real seller, negotiate a great price for yourself on the investment or buying side. To me, that's a table that I'm grabbing out in BAMX and sending to buyers, circling that window. Here is our buying season. Let's go attack. Okay. So I know Steve's looking for which interview. You're looking for that interview that we posted. Is it the I hope it's not this Commerce Secretary making an absolute fool of herself. But I'm assuming it's the other one. Bobby can link up for Steve. There you go. There it is. You can grab that. Here we go. Let's take a look quickly at the 10-year. This to me is a little bit of a miss from where I was hoping the 10-year would be. I was hoping that this number would get pushed down a little bit based off of job news. We're at 3.85. Obviously, a lot weighing in on what Powell's going to say tomorrow. 6.46 is where the 30-year fix came in yesterday. We got one more thing here that came out today. That's weekly unemployment. I'll just go to the show notes here and give you the headline on that. Adjusted initial claims for the week ending August 17th was 232,000. And that's an increase on unemployment of 4,000 from the previous week's level of 228. The 4-week moving average was 236. And so that's actually down from a revised level of 236,750. Total week ending August 17th was 191,000. And so similar numbers to what we've been seeing on a weekly basis on unemployment at a 4.3% clip running right now. Here are the highest insured unemployment rates by state. You've got New Jersey, Puerto Rico, Rhode Island, California, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Mass, Nevada, New York, Washington. Largest increase in initial claims, Georgia, Michigan, Virginia, Jersey, Kansas. Largest decrease in initial claims, California, Texas, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Iowa. And there you go. That is your update here on this hot sheet. I said action packed. This is a longer than we usually go, but there was a lot to cover. Maybe I do need to go back to Fridays again. Team would kill me for doing that. If you are getting value from what we do here, please, if you're on the YouTube, hit the thumbs up so this video can reach more people. Subscribe to the channel. It's very helpful. We put out a ton of content here on this channel. We'd love for you to consider subscribing. There's, again, a brand new video series with Brad McCollum we posted yesterday. We got a new walkthrough coming out today, tomorrow, over on our other YouTube channel at Knowledge Brokers. Steve wants the other video too. The other video is just too funny, Steve. So it's sad, but it's too funny. Tomorrow on our other channel at Knowledge Brokers, I'll be on that going over. And so that's a place on Friday that you can grab a week wrap up with me. If you'd like to be into the community in BAMX, use code HOT to get 10% off of BAMX. All of our hot sheet show notes go directly to you inside of BAMX each and every single day. All of our slides. We have a monthly new course, a live stream. I hosted the live stream yesterday personally. We went through business planning. Those replays get posted up for our BAMX members, as well as every Friday. Eric and the team put together done for you content directly from all the stuff we talk about here on the hot sheet. Social templates, blog templates. Bobby writes a video script, email templates. All of that goes right to you. BAMX in a box is part of the BAMX experience. Use code HOT to get 10% off of BAMX. And BAMX members all get 25% off of BAM Mania. Join us in Las Vegas, October 17th and 18th. The 17th, grab the VIP ticket. Those are going to sell out first. Then we'll be left with general admission. BAMmania.com to join us in Las Vegas at the beautiful Circa. Love to see you guys there. That's it for the hot sheet this week. It's a wrap. We'll see what Jerome Powell says tomorrow. And again, really thank you guys all for being a part of this, being a part of the Agent of Change community. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the comments. And of course, next time, tomorrow, in fact, on Knowledge Brokers Pod. Till then, toodaloo.